This is Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate, the podcast where we cover home buying, home selling, home improvement tips and ideas, market trends and developments, and investing in real estate. If you own real estate in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area, or want to own real estate here, then you're in the right place. Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate is hosted by Blake Watson, a real estate agent and investor in Tennessee and Georgia, brokered by eXp Realty LLC.
Welcome to Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate. I'm Blake Watson, and I am here today with Michael Colquette. He is an agent with American National Insurance. So welcome, Michael.
Absolutely glad to be here.
You provide homeowners insurance. I know you also write all sorts of insurance as an agent. When someone is considering their home insurance, what are some of the things that they should immediately be thinking about? How do they start their conversation with you?
I think the first thing that people think about with homeowners insurance most of the time is from their lender trying to get their payment as low as possible, which means I need this homeowner's insurance to be as cheap as possible to get your payment where you need to be so you can get qualified and you can get this loan. I'll tell you this, one of the saddest stories I've had in the 10 years that I've had my agency. We all know just a couple of weeks ago, Easter came through, and it always brings me back to the Easter tornadoes in Chattanooga a couple years ago. The day after, I went with a group from our church and loaded up some trucks and chainsaws and went to Holly Hills in East Brainerd, just to see what we could do to help. Thankfully, I did not have any clients personally involved with that situation. But again, at this point, we're cutting trees off of houses and off of cars and just doing what we can to help. Mid-morning of that day, I was found out to be the insurance guy. And so I had to put my chainsaw down, and now I'm walking people through what they have and what to do next, even though it's not with us, just trying to help in any way we can.
Yeah, just trying to be helpful.
So I'm walking into this house. If you looked at the house, probably worth about $350, $375, something in that range. And this is, again, several years ago, so who knows what it'd be worth now.
Yeah, but that makes sense. Holly Hills.
Exactly.
I know the neighborhood well.
So we go into this house, and the door and the two windows are there. Everything above that is gone. What used to be the second floor of this split-level home. And so we walk into the door. We're looking at the sunshine above us because there's literally nothing there. We walk down the hallway. We turn right into the gentleman's office, and there's a filing cabinet with his insurance documentation in the sealed envelope from brand X that had been there since he got it in the mail, because that's what people do. Mm-hmm. He hands me the envelope. I unseal it and pull the policy out, and his home is insured for $128,000.
Oh, man.
He had done a refinance 7 months prior, and again, wanted to get that payment as low as possible. And so legally, all you have to have is enough coverage for your mortgage. So his mortgage lender, I blame the mortgage lender and I blame the insurance agent because they're both at fault here.
Right. They both had to look at that.
So I'm looking at the documentation, and of course, obviously, these folks have had a rough night as it is, and I have to be the one to tell them that you have $128,000 to pay off your mortgage, but that's pretty much it.
That's really it. You're going to be debt-free on this house, but you're not going to have a house.
56 years old, starting over.
Oh, man.
The wife immediately loses it. The husband starts to lose it. And through his tears, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I said, and I'm fighting back tears at this point. I'm like, sir, you signed it. It's done. There's nothing to be done.
Yeah.
So to this day, when I'm in that area, I'll sometimes pull through that subdivision, and that is a vacant plot of land now. That I don't know if they've not sold it or what the deal is, but like I said, I think they were 56 and 53, the couple were, starting from scratch. Because they saved $7 a month to get that payment where it needed to be. It's sad, and it's what a lot of people do, unfortunately. I preach to all of my clients, I don't sell based on price because I don't want to save you $7 and be in that situation.
Yeah.
So my goal in my agency is we are making it right before there's a tornado, before there's a car wreck with your car insurance limits being incorrect. Life insurance, goodness, People depend on work life insurance to be, oh, I don't need anything else because I've got work life insurance. Well, they don't know what that means. So when a car wreck happens, when cancer happens, whenever the bad things happen, because even though it'll never happen to you, I promise it does.
It does, yeah, sure.
After you're gone, you find out that life insurance you were depending on to take care of your family is actually $20,000, which may be enough to bury you, may not be enough to bury you, and then your family's out of luck. So again, with the house, with the cars, whatever you name with insurance, making sure it's right on the front end is the most important piece, because like I said, otherwise you're in that couple situation, 53 and 56 years old, starting from scratch, having to get a 30-year mortgage when they had almost had their house paid off.
Yeah. So you've started us on a really sad note.
just to kick off with
that's great.
Real positive information here.
Insurance gone wrong. What would be other things that you would talk to someone about when they meet with you?
I think one of the biggest things that people have kind of gotten away from but are coming back to because they're seeing the value in it is having that local presence. You see the commercials for the 10-minute quote over the phone or online. When you go to McDonald's, you expect McDonald's service. When you go to Hennon's downtown, you expect a different level of service. So just because it's cheap doesn't mean that it's right, doesn't mean that it is what you actually need. So having those personal interactions face-to-face with someone that if you have a problem, you can call, you can text, you can email, and they actually live in your area, in your community, that's a big deal. And then just being present and available. My phone rings constantly. My wife loves it. But
that's the sound of money, baby.
And it's one of those things where if I was in trouble, if I was on the side of the road and needed help, or if I had a tree fall through my house, I want to know that I can call someone who can help me.
Yeah, that's very true.
And so that's what we try to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a very comforting, it's an encouraging thing to know when your agent is literally a text or phone call away. Even though they may not be the one who processes your claim, they can guide you. I'm sure that's what you do for your clients. You're the kind of guy who's going to take that call, as you just said, and you're going to say, okay, here's what you need to do. Yes, it may be that you're going to have some other people involved. I'm sure you are.
Absolutely.
But you would still manage kind of their expectations and what to do.
Yeah, I'm blessed. I work with a company called American National, and our claims folks, whether it's home, auto, life, they're fantastic. They've won all the awards you can win for that customer service component. My job is really the go-between if there are issues or questions or follow-ups. And really and truly, when I hand my clients off to those claims reps or those people, I very rarely hear back from them because they're very, very well taken care of. That's a huge plus for us.
That's a good report.
Absolutely.
Yeah. A lot of times there are unique situations. I always encourage people to use local agents, just as you described, for the very reasons you described. It's nice to have somebody local that understands the neighborhoods, the street you may be on, and if you have a wreck on the side of the road, they actually know what road you're talking about,
right,
and what state you're talking about. They don't have to scratch their head and say, wonder where that is. You also have a lot of situations that may cause different insurance arrangements for short-term rentals. If someone is renting a part of their home out or using it for business in many different ways that could be done, how do you address those types of issues where it's not just, I just live here?
Yeah, the biggest thing that insurance companies want is transparency. If you are renting something in your house or you're using your business there, if you don't disclose it and try to hide it and something bad happens and the insurance company finds out that you were running that bed and breakfast or you were doing the Airbnb.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. That's the most common.
Right. That is a risk that a lot of insurance companies do not like. And so you have somebody come in that trashes the house and damages things, and the insurance company finds your property listed on VRBO. There's a good possibility that claim is going to be denied because you were withholding information. We see it all the time, like I said, not only with short-term rentals, with cars, with people using their vehicles for business.
Yeah, the DoorDash situation.
Yeah.
I know high school students and college students, they think they can just hop in their car and go start doing that, but I know there's an insurance component.
Yeah. And again, it's just one of those things where a lot of folks, oh, it's fine. It'll be okay. And then just because of the willful ignorance or just ignorance in general, just because they don't know. Mm-hmm. But again, the insurance companies are not lax when it comes to that. They're going to protect their assets, and that's definitely a thing that you want to be careful of.
Yeah. So you have been an insurance agent for a decade, and prior to that, you were in banking. Both of those, you've dealt with homeowners.
Right.
And people buying homes and been taking care of them. And that's, I think, what brings a lot of your value to the table. That's been your whole experience as far as I know.
I did everything from a teller to a vice president, branch manager. They give you fancy titles at banks that doesn't really mean a lot, but it makes you feel good. And then transitioning to what I've done for almost 10 years now, which is crazy to believe. I wish I would have done it 25 years ago instead of 10 years ago. The similarities are there. You got to have a bank account. You got to have car insurance and home insurance. So
yeah, you got to have all of those. That's right.
I'm your guy.
Are there particular types of properties that you insure or work with that might be unusual? I mean, I assume I can come to you for the Holly Hills home. Sure. With a 3-4 bedroom home.
One thing American National is really specialized in for a long time, and it's not been in this area as much, and of course I'm trying to change that, the equine market, horse market.
Okay.
In the Northeast, up in the New York part of the country, there are horse farms everywhere. And if you mention a horse farm and insurance, American National is 1 or 2 on the list up in the Northeast quadrant of the country. And so we're bringing that more to the Southeast because per capita, you don't really think about it. We have a lot of horse farms around here. Chattanooga, McDonald, all, the surrounding areas. So that's one thing I'm really focusing on right now. I live in the North Georgia area. I've always worked in the Chattanooga market. I work with the Catoosa County Saddle Club. We do Western and English style ridings for kids and adults. So we've got a show coming up in April. We've got one in May, June, July, August. Once a month. It's the third Saturday of those months. But excited about that, being the public announcer and the voice of the Saddle Club.
That's great.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. But that's one thing. Folks with horses, folks with livestock, obviously, the liability exposure with having those large animals, people don't think about that. If you've got a horse that gets out and gets on a road and gets hit by a car,
right,
you're liable for that.
Yeah.
And if you don't have your horses listed on your policy, which a lot of people don't because they just don't know. They think they're a big dog. No, that's not it. You're liable, and you won't have coverage if they're not covered correctly. So, again, it's all about getting our clients and our future clients to understand those risks and not being the doomsday insurance guy of, saying these bad things are going to happen. But I would much rather have the conversation on the front end as opposed to after the fact when it's too late to fix it.
Let's talk a little bit about umbrella insurance policies. I happen to have one, and thankfully...
That's the thing, yeah.
Thankfully, I've never had to utilize that particular policy.
Sure.
But certainly I have my own home and autos, and then I have rental properties, and then I recognize there's a value in this umbrella policy. Can you tell us about that?
So an umbrella does what a rain umbrella does, is covering your assets from a liability perspective with another layer of insulation, I call it.
Okay.
Most companies require you to have everything in-house with multiple lines together to have your umbrella on top of it because they can monitor the coverage limits and make sure that they're where they're supposed to be or where they're required to be to maintain that umbrella policy.
Okay.
So that's another thing we talked earlier real quick about having the multi-policy discounts and having it all bundled together. You're going to get the best price most of the time. But again, with an umbrella, you typically have to have it that way. Depending on your limits of liability with your auto insurance, with your rental properties, with your homeowner's insurance, typically you're going to be required to carry $500,000 worth of bodily injury limits of liability for your car. Normally, it's $300,000 or $500,000 for your rental properties and your homeowner's policy, which those aren't numbers to sniff at. Those are decent numbers there. However, you don't have to look hard to see if medical expenses start piling up or much less litigation expenses. $500,000 is gone in a blink.
Yes, it is.
So most folks carry either $1, $3, or a $5 million umbrella policy. And what that number does, let's just call $1 million. So instead of a $500,000 liability on your house, cars, and rental properties, that $1 million comes on top of that and gives you $1.5 million worth of liability exposure coverage for it. So you said it perfectly earlier. You've never had to use it, thankfully, knock on wood.
Right.
But it's one of those things where you pray to God you never have to use it, but if you ever need it, you're really thankful it's there.
Yeah.
Because like I said, you spend your whole life doing all the things you've done, and then most of the time when an umbrella policy is involved, it is involved in a car accident of some kind. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's higher than liability exposures on homeowners and rental properties. But if there's a wreck involved, those folks in the car that you hit, that it's your fault, you're responsible for all the medical expenses. And then much less, again, the litigation side of it. If there's a death, those are expensive.
Yeah.
And so it's a very valuable asset to have, and I recommend them to my clients, is that I have one as well.
Okay. What I'm also hearing, there's so many elements to this that a good insurance agent that I can sit down with and talk it through, it seems that your expertise is very valuable, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you would walk someone through that. Have there been situations where they've come from another insurance situation, and I'm going to just say the online market, because I know it is big, and Sure. It's also one that's not as personal. So an online market, someone buys their insurance policy there. What have you seen are some of the errors that have come up?
I think not being able to lay eyes on property is a big component that's missed by these online companies as far as their coverages being correct. It's sad and scary, really. Some of my most affluent clients, the doctors, the lawyers, the folks who make the big bucks, we'll put air quotes around that. I have a doctor that I insure currently. He was referred to me by a friend of his just to do a review. And, they're busy. I get that. So it was pulling teeth to get him to get me his information. Because, again, he didn't have a local agent. He did the online thing because he can do it at midnight.
Right. He didn't have to talk to somebody during the day.
So pulling teeth, but he finally sent me all of his declaration pages. And he lived in a $1.8 million house on Lookout, and had all these nice cars and all the things that you would expect a physician to have. His home was underinsured by $600,000.
Wow.
He had the state minimum liability limits for his car insurance.
Oh, my goodness. Yes.
So,
oh, goodness.
He didn't know what the word umbrella policy meant. You run into a situation where he's driving a brand new Land Rover with state limit liabilities. And so he has a wreck.
And let's just be clear on automobile state limit liabilities. I don't know what they are, but I know they're very low. They are.
It's $25,000.
Okay. Which is not even going to put a bumper on probably his car.
Yeah. And again, he had no idea and just was going along his merry way. And so did the review. And what was crazy, even with it being the internet, web-based, all the things, I think from a total cost perspective, which again, we don't talk about price a lot, but he ended up paying net about $60 more a month total package, home, auto, and umbrella, with the correct limits, with his house being insured properly, with an umbrella policy, is about $60 more a month for,
wow.
five times the coverage on his car.
Yeah,
everything.
Excellent coverage. Yeah. Well, that's an extraordinary success story there.
Yeah.
I mean,
should have led with that instead of the tornadoes.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's crazy because when folks are busy, which everyone is busy.
Sure.
I get that. I don't beg people to write their coverage. If you don't want to do it, I can't make you. But my job is to make sure that what I'm presenting you is correct. That's just how we do it at my office.
Michael, how would someone reach you if they wanted to get a quote or just a re-look at what they're doing?
Yeah, well, my office is located at 7110 East Brainerd Road in Chattanooga. It's the old Holco building. We talked about that earlier.
Right.
My good
Not
friend,
far from the interstate.
That's right. My good friend Ryan Hood CPA and Associates, they own the building now. And we've had a great partnership with him and his firm for 4 years now. It's crazy. We were together in his old office space, and then when they moved to there, got a great spot there in the lower level of the building that's kind of remote to myself. I have my own door now, which is really nice. My other offices I've always had a hallway or stairs or something like that. So
you and I actually shared an office 10 years ago now, didn't we?
You gave me my start. My first office was a Blake Watson special. But yes, so it's nice having an entry and door right there at the front there. Call the office at 423-892-2023. If you press option 3, it goes straight to me. My cell is 423-304-4424. Call or text that number anytime. If I'm not in my office, it forwards to my cell phone. It's a great company to work with. I've been with them for almost 10 years now, which is crazy to think, kind of starting from scratch back then to where we are now. It's been a fun ride. We've got great leadership, great other agents in the area as well. I'm truly blessed to get to be able to do what I do.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming and being on the show, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Blake Watson. My mobile phone is 423-315-1815. Find me on Facebook and LinkedIn as Blake Watson and on Instagram as Rock and Roll Blake. My website is realestatebyblake.com. And I look forward to talking with you next week on Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate.